spooky Halloween. I just scared the shit out of y'all. This is a Walmart sword that looks like Long Claw, right? I'm going to paint this white. All right, yeah, I got candy for everybody. Happy Halloween. Got Twix boys. It's like, no, what's up, everybody in the chat? That was a good-ass episode. We got a lot to discuss, but the first thing we need to talk about is, all right, let me breathe. Just ran up the stairs. All right, so there is a pattern of abuse, right, with Alicent in the High Towers. The very last thing that happened in the episode, we find out that the entirety of the dance, because Rhaenyra and Alicent made up. This is the kind of shit we live for with the TV show. These kinds of twists. Now let me explain, right? The Laenor thing was different, and that's because I'm sensitive on Adam of Hull. When we found out Corlys was black, Adam of Hull, Alan Oakenfist, they're supposed to look like me, and I thought, oh, I might get petition for the show, but then I realized, oh, that's an idiot's pipe dream. Why would I? Right? So that's why I was like, okay, this Laenor thing, blah, but this change with Viserys looking like a Skeletor, I don't even know. I got to rewatch that. I can't, man, it's crazy. He looked insane. But anyway, he's senile, right? He saw Alicent. It was a perfect setup. He saw Alicent. This was a 6-year time jump. So 6 years ago, when he sees Alicent, he thinks she's Rhaenyra. So this senility is kicking in. What does he have in the chat? What do y'all think he has? He's missing an eye. And like, yes, they're concerned about his health, but ultimately, why is no one more concerned that the king is dying? Oh, man, let me focus. The king is dying, though. Like, seriously, they should be asking what is... I think I figured out what the king has. The king is dead, right? And I would talk about that right now, but that would get me too sidetracked. I actually just did an 18-minute podcast over on my Patreon. It was supposed to be a video here on YouTube, but it wouldn't have fit in because it would have been irrelevant after tonight, and I would have had time to edit it. So the audio is up on my Patreon. Join for like $1. It's linked down below in the description. But that's a good way. Let me eat this Twix bar. This will give me some time to think about some stuff because I've just seen this episode. And I'm trying to get my thoughts together. And I was rewatching my live streams along with episodes of House of Dragon. And I was like, man, I am scatterbrained as shit. I bet you more people would watch if I focused. So this candy here is going to give me a little bit of time to focus, get my hair straight, tuck it back behind my hat. I'm going to say what's up to the chat, but I got to get this Alicent thing out. All right. So in episode 3, Sir Otto is having a conversation with his little brother, with his older brother, the head of House Hightower. Hopefully that's where Daeron the Daring is. I saw a little kid in the trailer for episode 9, but that was not Daeron the Daring. It's too young. That's one of Aegon's bastards. One of the handmaidens that Aegon rapes comes back, and that might be Gaiman Palehair. Holy crap. The dance is kicking off. We might have seen Gaiman Palehair, who is this companion to Aegon III, who ends up becoming his whipping boy, right? Super sidetrack. Let me focus. When Sir Otto's having the conversation with his older brother, Hobart Hightower, Otto kind of, not necessarily flinches, but he looks a certain way, and it makes me think, oh, Sir Otto was probably abused by Hobart Hightower. Hobart Hightower was probably abused by their father. And then, obviously, we've seen Sir Otto abuse Alicent and Aegon. Aegon turned that abuse into rape. And this is like adding so much to the Greens. It's like, how could you not be Team Greens and Team Black all the time? I've been intentionally switching my Twitter banner back and forth because throughout the day, I'll read something in Fire and Blood, and I'll be like, I'm Team Black for right now, at least for the next couple of hours, and I'm Team Green for the next couple of hours. But the show is literally making it play down the middle, right? So Alicent kicks off this war by naming Aegon the king, and we hear in that teaser for episode 9, right? It's directed by Claire Kilner, right? That she says, "Have you never dreamed of sitting the Iron Throne?" At least it sounded like Alicent. But anyway, we got the abuse thing out. Let me say what's up to the chat. So I think that's the thing. I need to rewatch that again, right? But in episode 3, when Sir Otto was talking to Hobart basically says, you need to get the king to realize that Aegon should be the heir. This is when the king is like pretty lively. This is before he starts losing the entirety of himself, right? And Hobart kind of like makes this subtle face movement, and then Otto kind of has this reaction that makes me think, oh, he was probably abused by him, right? But that was the point that I wanted to get out before I say what's up to every single person in the chat, which I'm about to do right now, because I had a super chat. I got to go to YouTube to pull that up. For some reason, StreamYard, which is the streaming software that I use, doesn't let me pull up super chats from the actual chat. Damn, we got 153 people watching right now. Shout out. So the super chat was from, let me find this dude. I literally just said, what's up? Mop. The North must remember, or Breanne, can one of you guys tell me the dude's usual? Hunter. There, right there. All right. So let me pin that. This guy. Thank you for the super chat, man. What did the super chat say? Because it's disappeared from the YouTube chat. All right, so let me say what's up to everybody that's typing right now. Wait. Did someone type what his super chat said? What did his super chat say? Okay. I can't see it. All right. Okay, so shout out to 1PZ, Artie Maloney, Blue Gypsy, Breanne Johnson, what's up, girl? Brian Williams, Kat Shepard, Charles, Cheryl Lindsay, Chris Card, Damon Targaryen, Daniel Pizzini, Dawn Marie, Dennis Sorensen, Diana, DJ KLY242, Fernan R, Heart of Inspiration, what's up? Hunter, thank you again for that super chat, man. Jaybird50, Jess loves Disney, Jesse, we got a lot of damn Jessies up in this motherfucker. John Haymaker. Oh, let me keep my language down. This has probably already been demonetized for me saying too many words for YouTube to pick up. It's ridiculous. All right. K3G92, Kingsley, Liz Fiola, Lost 5, Missy Be Kind, Roman Wright, Riv, Summer LA, Supixo, SYP, what's up? Terrence Pounds, the North must remember, Titan of Bravos, and Uncover the News. Anybody else that I missed, I'm sorry, I'll do another shout out towards the end of this live stream. But check this out. I think my videos will be not only longer, but also better if I give myself more time to make them. So I'm going to say that my actual episode breakdown is going to be up probably by Tuesday, right? Those are usually 32-minute videos where you don't see my face. You see the show and I talk about key moments. Basically what I'm about to do right here, but condensed and more focused, because I am not only naturally ADD self-diagnosed, right? Potentially autistic, but also I love everything about this show. So when I see something, right, like the line, like, let's give a toast to my 2 strong nephews, right? I gotta do this whole like thing that I type in my notes where I'm like, hey, make sure you make a point to say this in the live stream because it's really funny, and then say the joke too, right? So I don't know. Like I said, those videos, I'm gonna give myself more time to put it up, and I think it will still do well if I upload it by Tuesday, right? Also, if you'll notice the 2 paintings behind me, that red joint over here, and then the eye, I painted those myself. Let me give myself a shout out and do that. Well, no, I don't need to do that right now. Y'all can see it. But yeah, I did that when I was into painting last year. I haven't painted really that much because I realized it's a thing. Like, paint is expensive. So yeah. All right. There we go. Thank you, North must remember. The super chat said live stream advice. Any super chat sent before you go live gets erased once you what the fuck? Damn, that's crazy. All right, so thank you for that super chat. I'm gonna wait like 10 seconds to see if you'll type in the chat right now, Hunter, and then I'll say what it says. But damn, I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me that. North must remember. I did not know that. That's crazy. So So I'm waiting for Hunter to type in the oh, thank you. I love you too. That's a really thank you. Rayla says, what a great episode. I agree. Sip says he bounces around. Well, sometimes I bounce around like every 10 seconds. It's what makes editing my videos so annoying is like I won't focus on one thing for more than 15 to 20 seconds at a time. And then I'm having to search and source clips or pictures or whatever. That's why editing these longer videos, right? So before the show came out, I was making videos pretty much every day, but they were way shorter and it was way easier to edit those. But now every single video I put out was like 20 fucking minutes, and it's because I'm allowing myself to just go on these tangents, and people like those. That's what everybody's saying anyway. All right, so did you type? There we go. I just said so many. Thank you again for the super chat. I just said so many great moments in this episode, like Daemon killing Sea Snake's brother and Viserys climbing the steps on. Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. Oh, man. Daemon Velaryon's tongue. What the damn, that was sick. All right, so look. House of the Dragon is killing a lot of black people. Not really, right? Okay, this guy deserved it. It doesn't matter. I don't even know why I said that. That was a stupid statement. But it is kind of like a trending. It was kind of a trending thing. I keep killing black people. Anyway, this dude, you took it too far. I couldn't believe he was able to say as much as he did before he got his shit chopped off. Nothing cuts like Valyrian steel. You know what? That's what happens. And you know what happens in the books? His head gets cut off. And it's actually so much better on the TV show because there's all these people watching and it makes the moment better. But basically, he does the same thing. He keeps running his fucking mouth. And Rhaenyra tells Daemon, yo, go cut this dude's head off and then feed his carcass to your dragon, Syrax. So we got to see his head cut off in front of the Iron Throne. And Viserys was there and said, I'm going to do it myself. Viserys stood up, right? And is about to go take his okay, so in the books, when he does that, he stands up and he cuts himself. And then when he cuts himself, Rhaenyra says that she wants to bring her maester from Dragonstone over, and Alicent says, no, the Grand Maester has got this, and then they feud there too, right? But in the TV show, it goes even further and better. Look, I am willing to completely admit that I was an idiot for saying that the Laenor thing wouldn't work. It's not going to work out if they try to make him Adam of Hull, right? That's not going to work. But him not dying is not... It's not even the worst writing choice. One of the worst writing choices is and this is really silly, is not having Mushroom. Why isn't Mushroom in the fucking show yet? At least some give us, I don't know. All right, but yeah, look, thank you for that super chat, buddy. Let me give a shout out to the chat too, because now we have 215 people watching right now. Holy shit. Show chat participants. All right, I'm going to do this again. Shout out to Ann Felipe, Billy Bob Robertson, Blake Anderson, Blue Gypsy, Brianna Reno, Cat Shepherd. I'm trying to read them fast, so I can't say hello to everybody. Chef Barty, Christina Antonio. It's the candy. If you want to know how I'm doing this fast, it's the sugar. I was off sugar for like this kind of sugar for like 2 years. Damon Targaryen. What's up, brother? Daniel Pizzini, Dawn Marie, DJ KLY242, Heart of Inspiration. Hey, you should be a mod. I don't know why you are not a mod yet. I need to get on that. Can the mods make other people mods? Probably not. I'm going to try to do that right now. Heart of Inspiration, span the chat. Hunter Hill, Hakan Isak Sarak. I'm sorry if I mispronounced anybody's name. It is not intentional. J Bird 50, Jennifer McCauley, Jess Loves Disney, K3G92, Crimson LP, Lisa Michelle Beauty, Liz Fiola, It 1013, Marjan Kaya Kavosi, Red Robinette, Watercolor is my thing. Rayella should be a mod as well. Rob72875, Roman Wright, Riv, Stephen Parrott, Sip, The North Must Remember, and Uncover the News. All right, cool. Double shout outs around the house. All right. So Rael and Heart of Inspiration. All right. Make a moderator. There we go. And Rael, where did you go? I just saw you typed on. These are, if you're wondering, oh, why is Sir Hunt's picking random people out of the chat? I'm not. These people joined my Patreon, and specifically Heart of Inspiration is a dragon knight. That is the highest tier offered on my Patreon. And I'm really pushing that because it's self-promotion. And like I get to say whatever the hell I want on my Patreon. Obviously, I'm not someone who does hate speech or anything stupid like that. But YouTube thinks they can tell me what kind of curse words and what kind of language I can use. So I made my Patreon have content that I only upload there. Initially, I was going to upload some of it to YouTube, but none of it is getting uploaded to YouTube. Specifically, there was a video that I went on an 18-minute rant. It was actually a 23-minute rant that I edited down, was going to make into a video, but I put it on my Patreon because why not? YouTube shouldn't censor anybody who is talking about a make-believe show in which, check this out, there's dragons. What the Let me not get this demonetized. Oh, guess what? It already is. So whatever. Did I find Rael? Rael, are you in the chat? I thought I found you. Oh shit. We got another super chat from Cheryl Lindsay. Damn. There's no message. Thank you for that super chat, Cheryl Lindsay. That's awesome. Let me highlight that real quick. Thank you for that. Uncover the News says Tockstein Truefire might be a threat to the Greens. Tockstein Truefire is this guy who is a knight for the Greens, and he ends up getting beheaded by, if I'm not mistaken, Creed Stark, and he wants to be named a knight. Like he gets named Tristan Truefire right before he dies. But that little boy, if I'm not mistaken, was Gaiman Palehair. It has to be. Gaiman, if they're showing Gaiman Palehair, who becomes a whipping boy, and Gaiman Palehair is raised up by these whores on the street of Silk because supposedly he's one of Aegon's bastards. Is he one of Aegon II's bastards, or is he one of Viserys' bastards? Because Viserys has a bastard that is brought forth and also said to possibly be. This is gonna be crazy. I can't break down that trailer right now. I've only watched that one time. To be honest, it would be a terrible breakdown on those merits. All right, so here we go. Laura Estrada should be a mod as well. Why have I not made all of my? That's lazy on me. All right, all of the people who were mods are patron members. That's an automatic thing that you get for becoming a patron member. So I don't know why the hell I haven't gone through and done that yet. I'm tripping. I just saw you. Oh, okay. I already did it. All right. Anybody else who's on my Patreon? Okay. Let me check and see. Okay. Damn it, Bobby. God damn it, Bobby. All right, so shout out to all my patrons, right? The Dragon Knights, North Must Remember, Heart of Inspiration, Breanne Johnson, Stephanie Craig, Melanie Vine, Shaun Blackman, Emiliano Betancor, Sir Callum Sins, Chandler Scott, Rafael Luna, Lord Alon Velaryon, Frenchy, Aaron Smiley, Breanne Johnson, Pebbles83, Bradley Kempton, Ray de los Santos, The North Must Remember, Reflective Rambling, Nancy Loera, Bloody Tyrant, House Flugleman, Angie Delehanty, Rogaine Ablar, Nancy Tockstein, and this week, Marilyn Miller, Joe Swag, Adam Getzendanner, DQ, Heart of Inspiration, Diane Shaffer, Woman of Steel, AnaaaRodarte, Gina Lola, Eric S. Womack, Laura Estrada, Deb Whittington, Ty Rayella, Eric Hardy, ML7, Tracy Summers, Austin Malinowski, Tanette Grayson, Covette D, Greg McConnell, Nursey Poo 2K2, and Melanie John. And also, I have these things called channel members where you can watch my videos with no ads. And I promise you, I'm going to be live streaming for like 2 hours tonight, right? So I'm going to cover everything. I have 49 different things that I noticed in the episode. And I'm probably going to talk about most of those things, right? So the last round of shout outs that I want to do before a last shout out of the chat later on in this live stream, these are channel members. If you join for $1, you can watch all of my videos here on YouTube ad free, right? And that's dope because I still get paid. You get to watch them ad free. And sometimes these videos are like this live stream, 2 hours. So no ads in that motherfucker. Special thanks to these channel members: Breanne Johnson, Melanie Myers, Golem the Pantaloon Sniffer. Love that username. Dennis Sorensen, T.O. Anderson, Winterfell, Femi Ayenbadejo, Luckman Daniels, more cowbell, the Bio Explorer, John Haymaker, Brandon Roper, New Yorker in MA, Sal 3P, DQ the Sword in Darkness, Laura Estrada, Kelly, Mother of Chihuahuas, Heather Morgan, Tanette Grayson, Uncover the News, pow! Corvette and Corvette D. All right, cool. So let's do this motherfucker. Holy crap, we've already gotten more super chats. Dang it. Not dang it. I love those. I'm saying I was about to start breaking down the episode. All right, let's do this. Laura Estrada, thank you for the super chat. Not only are you a patron member, but you're dropping super chats. That's amazing. Thank you. She says, tonight I cried my eyes out. The acting was superb. Wow. What is canon and what wasn't? All right. So the only thing in particular that sticks out, and I'm going to talk about some of the other things when I run through my notes here, but off the top of my head is Viserys telling Alicent, right? So what happens when Viserys dies in the books is basically on the third day of the third moon in 129 AC in the hour of the bat, Viserys is said to take a cup of Hippocras, and when the servant brings in that cup of Hippocras, he discovers that Viserys is dead. So according to one version of the story, Alicent dropped a pinch of poison, and that's what killed Viserys. One of the last things he did was spend time with Jaehaera and Jaehaerys. They're twins, Aegon's twins with Helena. We didn't see them in this episode, but we will likely be seeing them coming up, especially for Blood and Cheese. But he just tells them a story about how Jaehaerys, their great-grandsire, the king at the beginning of the show, went north of the wall with his dragon, Vermithor, and killed a host of wildlings. And I just talked about that. And guess what? On my Patreon. But yeah, no, I did. So yes. But anyway, that's what happens. He ends up just dying, and Alicent keeps his death a secret for a week. Now, George in Fire and Blood Part 2 could reveal more potential details about how there's this prophecy that Aegon knew about, and maybe allude to the fact that Viserys and Alicent had a conversation about it, right? So, you know, he's senile. He's out of it. He thinks that he's talking with Rhaenyra. So the reason why he has a conversation for the TV show, this doesn't happen in the book. So that's one thing that is not canon, but it's amazing. It's so much better than what is actually canon, which is that, like I just said, Viserys drinks Hippocras, or he's about to drink Hippocras, but he's already dead. Or he gets poisoned, but he just dies because of old age. He suffers from gout, what I believe are heart attacks and migraines from the heart attacks. He has like mini strokes, like TIAs, right? I don't have time to explain that right now, but it's like mini heart attacks, I think, or mini strokes, right? But that's what happens in the books. In the TV show, he's falling apart. He has no eye. He has some sort of crazy disease that apparently we're the audience are the only ones who can see how extreme it is, because it's so crazy to be like, what the hell is going on to this dude? What is happening? Like he's just like he's kind of hanging in there, but also he's like dying like fuck. He looks like a Dementor. That's who he looks like, a goddamn Dementor. I don't. Oh, man, that's crazy. So yeah, that was one thing that wasn't canon. Thank you for that super chat. I got another super chat from Radical Z. Thank you for that super chat, Laura Strada. Only 2 episodes left, but my hope is season 2 premieres in April 2024. This episode was epic and made me feel for Viserys. Yes, that's another thing. Subscribe, please. Subscribe, right? I'll just reach 100,000 here on YouTube, which is why I hung up my silver play button back up. I don't feel embarrassed for having it, even though I immediately lost 7,000 subscribers after I reached 100,000 and earned that fucking thing. I immediately dropped down below 100,000. But now we're back, so I hung it up. So yeah, it's going to be a while before we get season 2. At least a year. April 2024 is a safe bet. That is, April historically is the month where the most Game of Thrones seasons premiered. It's when the first season premiered. April would be awesome. So they've already started working on the scripts. Usually when a season ends in the summertime for Game of Thrones, they'll start filming by the fall. So this show's ending in a couple more weeks, but they've finished filming this show back in February. And they filmed most of the stuff in a studio. So secretly, they could have already started filming some of the longer sequences, because season 2 is going to be nuts. But yeah, I've never felt more for a fictional character who everything about him breaks canon. but it's the best breaking of canon because George put it the best way is that he saw Viserys as this dude. Like I'm commenting on the second part of this. The episode was epic and made me feel for Viserys. I feel for Viserys too. That dude, he just wanted everybody to chill out. He's like, you guys saw that I nearly died to make my way to this dinner. Please just chill out. All right. I love everybody here. You guys don't like each other, but just like, please, right? And that was just amazing. But George put it best when George said that he saw Viserys as a way from one king to get into the dance of the dragons. So one king is the king after Jaehaerys, the old king, who's the wise king, who ruled for 55 years and did all these amazing things, like he built the King's Road, right? And then his wife, when she went up north, it's really interesting. Her dragon Silverwing refused to fly her north of the wall, which makes me believe that Jaehaerys' story about him using his dragon Vermithor to defeat a host of wargs, skin changers, wildlings, and maybe even a potential, they're fleeing from White Walkers, right? But anyway, it's just he saw Viserys as a way for the dance to start. If you have a shitty king after a really, really good king, it's a good way for the dance to kick off because there was just too many heirs. Like that's mentioned in Fire and Blood multiple times. There's just so many heirs, and all of them rode dragons for the most part. A lot of them ride dragons, as we can see. Something like this was bound to happen. The question of succession has always been the main theme of not just the Game of Thrones show, but also for this show. With the Game of Thrones show, it's sort of less of a thing, right? So obviously in the beginning, we know Ned calls out Cersei and he's like, look, bitch, your kids are not legitimate, right? It's a very similar thing that we see on this show. But this, it's just the stakes seem so much higher and it's only been 8 episodes. I feel like I'm watching something and like I feel like I'm also cheating because I just rewatched the show so I can recall things from memory that maybe people watching my live stream cannot, and they won't appreciate how great the show is. But this show has it's amazing. Every time I'm watching, I'm like, man, I gotta go jerk off before I do this live stream because I'm just gonna be sucking the show's dick the entire time. Things like that are why I get demonetized. But why not say it? Because it's funny. And sometimes it's true. I didn't jack off this time, but hey, haha, what's up with Aegon showing so much nudity? Like, why you raping people, dude? Come on, you're the king. You probably could charm them slightly, just slightly. They're handmaidens. They don't know what fancy shit is. Take them outside and say, you see that dragon right there? That's my dragon. His name is Sunfire the Golden because of how golden he is. Want to see my penis? And she'd be like, oh my God, yes. But no, he'd rather rape them. And it's because Alicent wouldn't just let him jerk off out the window. If she just let him jerk off out the window. This segment right here is why I get demonetized. But that's so silly. Why? I'm just joking. I'm talking about make-believe people. Yeah. Oh, damn. We got another super chat from Claudia Harris. Thank you for that super chat, Claudia. No message. No message. Super chat from Hunter Hill. Just joined in Patreon. Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Welcome over there, and I hope you appreciate the 5 or 6 episodes, I believe, that I've uploaded of Leaks and Lore. It's a podcast that's exclusive to my Patreon. Eventually, it's going to have video and way better audio. The last episode that I uploaded has good audio, but I need to get a setup. I've explained it in that podcast, so just go listen. I just basically need to have access to this room, and I can't because my chillin' be up here sleeping. Like, we sleep up here, so it's just long story. But thank you for that super chat. Who is your favorite character in the show this far? Whoa. It's going to be a long one. Who isn't my favorite characters? The dragons. It'll be easy to quick answer, the dragons, right? But if you want to go for humans, well, Rhaenyra, Daemon, Alicent, Viserys, Larys, because he's crazy, right? Clubfoot, right? I don't know. Something about how homicidal and a true sociopath he is. Is like, what can he do, right? So we know he poisons Aegon too, but like, what can he do for this TV show? Because he's so much. All of them. Everybody is my favorite character. You know what? I even like the eyeless lady from episode 4, where Rhaenyra is following Daemon through the streets, and she goes, "Want to know your fate, dear?" And then it cuts to a face of a dragon blowing out fire. I even like that lady because she is like foreshadowing something, even though I know Rhaenyra's death is going to be terrible to watch on screen. I even like that lady because she even plays a role in how great this show is. I can't wait until we have like 2 or 3 seasons under our belt. We're coming up on the last season, and then you get to binge watch for like 2 days in a row. That's when you have that, or at least for me, that's when I have these like manic dreams and come up with these crazy theories, and it's going to be happening soon. When the show ends, right? And we're waiting for season 2. It's the long night that I entertain everybody through that makes me come up with these crazy manic theories. But that's the best, the most fun. And this show is more of a chance of those kinds of theories becoming true because guess what? Our boy Ryan Condal has read the books. And it seems like for the most part, most of the writing team has read the books as well. Like there's a few choices that you can question, obviously, but who's my favorite character? Daemon and Caraxes, just because, and Aegon and Aemon and freaking Helena, because she's got the visions. And then also all of the dragons. We haven't even seen Sunfire up close, but that's also my favorite character. I'm just a big, big fan. Thank you for that super chat, Hunter Hill. We got another super chat from a boy, North Must Remember, Dragon Knight, says, he says, Alicent's last words to Viserys are, I understand. What do you think she understood? Well, to answer that part, she understood way more than I did because he was talking nonsense. Like he was obviously talking about Aegon. He had the dream. From his line comes the Song of Ice and Fire. He's the one to unite the realm against the cold and the threat coming from up north. The next part that she took from that, my son Aegon is the one to unite the realm, and she took the cold threat. She doesn't understand White Walkers and all that stuff, right? She just thinks that the threat is the war, open war. And then you go on to say Viserys named Ray, I like that, as heir. I use that sometimes too, based on a superstition. Or does she think he was encouraging her to resist Ray? So let me reread the whole thing because I broke the first part down and then made myself confused. Alicent's last words to Viserys, I understand. What do you think she understood? Viserys named Rhaenyra as heir based on a superstition. Or do you think he was encouraging her to resist Rhaenyra? Viserys named. So he did. Okay, so he kind of, I guess you could say a superstition because, like, she was asking him at dinner, like, "Yo, do you think the vision was real?" Kind of thing. Or do you think she was encouraging her? Or do you think he was encouraging her to resist Rhaenyra? No. He definitely was thinking, he was continuing the conversation that he had with Rhaenyra at dinner where she said, do you think it's true? And he's just, right after that is when he passes out. And then Alicent has the guards come over. But yeah, it's just, this is the perfect twist for the show. You cannot get mad at it because it makes the war make so much more sense. You hear that Alicent is this good individual. Okay, you also hear she's promiscuous and that she was also sleeping with Viserys before Emma Arryn died, right? And then you also hear that Daemon has a fondness for deflowering virgins, and then you see Daemon and Aemon, and they look fucking exactly the same, like almost as much as Kristen Cole and Jacaerys look similar, right? And I did a theory like a year and a half ago on that, but it's like, it's not going to be true for the show. But it's just like the show is amazing. Hopefully I answered your question, Northwest Remember. These kinds of questions are so good they get me to go on these side tangents. I'm about to go through my notes on the TV show. Dang. There's a bunch of like regular questions that I do want to answer. Breanne Johnson says, I don't think Alicent knew about the prophecy from the knife. I think she thought of their talk in front of that fire at the hunt. Yes, I actually need to go back and rewatch that. The conversation that Viserys has with her. So this is when Aegon the two is like a little toddler. The conversation that they have, I don't even remember the words they exchange. But Alicent doesn't know about the prophecy of ice and fire. There could be a reference to it, but like she would probably get the translation where she would think that it has to be a prince and not or a princess, right? And think that it's like means her son because it's part of the human flaw. She knows that her son is legitimate and Rhaenyra's children, like Alicent did her one duty, but Rhaenyra didn't. So it just I don't think she knows about the prophecy in the knife. I think she thought of their talk in front of that fire. Oh, so I need to look up what was the talk in front of that fire. Chat, tell me what that talk was. Filming starts March 2023. I saw that too, Rayla, but I think that was a rumor from like an uncredited source. That was not, it was like, it's like an online magazine or something that's not official. HBO will usually come out and be like, we've started filming. And sometimes it's after they already start, but I know they haven't started scouting locations or anything like that. So maybe that is true. Maybe that's potentially true. March just seems like it's kind of far because that's like 5 months from now. And they could start technically as soon as, like, I know Ryan's gonna have an amazing time working with George and all of his writers to write the season 2 script, but there's certain parts that I'm sure they know have to happen, so they could start filming those and at least casting. So they've started the post or the pre-production for season 2 probably as soon as it was greenlit, because, well, that's their job. They need to get out this show, not only make it as best as possible, but they also need to have it relatively, not 2 years in between seasons. Like we went like a year and a half, almost 2 years in between season 7 and season 8 for Game of Thrones. And also, like I said, they built that massive studio. So really filming should theoretically not take as long as it took. And then also, I guess it depends on how many wars they're filming. A lot of the stuff, we do have a few dragon battles that I think the timeline will line up to happen in season 2. So hopefully they start filming before March, but there's potential that those rumors are true. I think the source of them is just not the most credible. Radical Z says, with Viserys gone, thank you for the super chat, by the way, says, with Viserys gone, now the chaos begins. Yes, and guess what? It's not as chaotic as the books make it seem. It's a legitimate reason. Alicent legitimately thought that her son Aegon was being named heir. If Viserys hadn't have said Aegon, she probably wouldn't have been like, oh yeah, my son becomes the king. Totally, yes. Excuse me, hang on. Laura Estrada says, it's sad he doesn't go down as a strong king. Viserys was just, nice. Viserys was just a good and just man. Exactly. That scene, if he doesn't get nominated for awards for that, like I don't cry from stuff like that. I mean, sometimes I feel like, actually, no, when I was a kid, when Buffy died, I cried then because I was like 11 and I was like, holy shit, Buffy's dead. And then I didn't realize in TV shows you can bring characters back. They're magic. Willow's going to bring her back, but she was in heaven. So you should have brought her back. So it was even more sad. But yes, I was damn near close to it, I immediately started crying when my grandma died. I started crying when my cousin Miho died a couple years ago now. TV shows. And then also when I was really little, I saw, it was my mom's cousin, so my second cousin, but she was around us a lot, and I was probably like 4. So I've experienced death from a really early age, and I think that's not to sound like I'm some badass loner, edge boy, emo kid, edge lord. No, I'm not, but I've experienced death at a really early age. So when I watch TV shows, it's hard for me to get to that point, but I'll get really excited and really hyped up and feel certain really types of ways. But his performance was one of those ones that could pull you to the point where, like, hey, remember how sad you were when your grandma died? This guy's about to die, and he's like old. And he reminds me of my grandma because he reminds me of, you try to touch on those emotions that you can recall. I don't know. Hopefully I answered your comment. Season 2, like late spring, early summer 2024. Yes, that's definitely, yeah. At the earliest spring 2024, for sure. So that's what I'm hoping they start filming before March of 2023. But you have Sir Hunts to entertain you, so don't worry. When the show's off, I make content just as consistently. Oh, you don't believe me? Well, go look at when Game of Thrones ended, and then look how I uploaded about half as many days as there were since the show ended. That's how many videos I uploaded. And I hope I got better and better. Not necessarily... Well, no, I just hope I got better makeup. But yeah, that's the guaranteedness right there. I'm going to keep making videos on this. And we got a lot to talk about for season 2. And then my favorite is when they start filming outside of the studio and we get pictures. And then I get to look at those pictures, make videos on them, and guess about what they're filming. And then, get excited and hyped up for season 2. And also the year usually flies by because we have some other TV shows and movies coming out next year. And then, this show, we want it to be as good as possible. So I think a year safe bet, but hopefully they start filming for that. Corliss ain't dead. No, yes, Corliss is not dead. I don't know what that's in response to. That's, you guys are talking back and forth in the chat, but Corliss is not dead. This is exactly what happens in the books. Oh, so to answer the super chat question from earlier, this is another thing that happens in the books. Corliss is gravely wounded in a question of, not gravely because he doesn't die. He's wounded while fighting in the Stepstones, and like the war in between the Stepstones is mentioned, like in episode 2. When Corliss first brings the Stepstones up, when the Stepstones are mentioned. Okay, so when the Stepstones are mentioned in episode 3 by Kira Lannister, I think, it's mentioned by the group of people talking. I can't remember which character says it, but basically the Stepstones is a ruthless place. It's uninhabitable and no one wants to live there. And obviously it's the same thing for the canon, for the book canon. But because of this, it's hard to keep a force of people down there to establish law. That's how the crab feeder was able to set up down there to begin with. So Corliss has to go back and forth because once Daemon leaves the Stepstones, marries Rhaenyra and starts having kids with her, Daemon's no longer king of the Narrow Sea. So the triarchy sort of reestablishes itself, and Corliss is forced to go down there again. And we heard that he got, shot in the neck. He got cut in the neck by a Corsair's dagger. A Corsair is a slaver. But yeah, he's going to make a full recovery. He's fine. He actually survives the entirety of the dance and dies on what's called the Serpentine Stairs of a heart attack, but also of old age because he's a really old dude. All right, let me go through some of my notes. I'll do one more question in the chat. Oh, shit, we got a super chat. Thank you, Sandra Cummings. She said, Daemon cut that nugget right in half, son. Yes, he did. You saw his tongue. His tongue was sticking out. That's going to make a bunch of really funny memes, and I can't wait to look at them. Oh, shit. Super chat from my buddy, The North Must Remember. Dragon Knight tier over on Patreon. He says, better entrance. Alicent during the welcome feast gave me chills, but Viserys marching down the throne room made me cry like a bitch. Hell yeah. So you're referring to when younger Alicent comes in wearing the full-on House Hightower green sigil dress, basically declaring war on Rhaenyra, right? This is after she found out what happened with Rhaenyra and Alicent Cole. Sorry, when Alicent finds out what happens between Kristen Cole and Rhaenyra. Yeah, when he comes in to establish rule, it's expected because I know we've seen him wearing the mask. Speaking of which, that mask is very similar, and I've seen this commented a bunch of different places, but I'm just going to say it right now. It's not mine. It's very obvious. Viserys, Daenerys' brother, dies in the books as well, right? From having gold poured over his head because in a Game of Thrones, he gets tired of Khal Drogo treating him like a little bitch, right? Viserys, Daenerys' brother, right? He's called the Beggared King. He actually has to borrow clothes, and Daenerys has clothes made for him that would make him look like a proper Dothraki lord, but he's Westerosi AF, and he's like, dude, no, I'm not wearing this shit. I'm not wearing these Dothraki rags. You hang out with these savages, right? So Viserys is a very disrespectful dude. He abuses Daenerys her whole life, and he still continues to do it after she marries Khal Drogo. So they're at this place called Vaz Dothrak, and it's a sacred city. You're not allowed to spill blood at Vaz Dothrak. I've actually come up with a theory that the reason why Khal Drogo died is because he kills Viserys, the last dragon, at Vaz Dothrak. And yes, he didn't spill blood because he pours gold over his head and Viserys dies. And George writes it really poetically. Not a single drop of blood was spilled, but you still killed someone, which is ultimately the main principle at Vaz Dothrak. The Dothraki are savage Apache motherfuckers. And the one place they're not allowed to kill is at Vaz Dothrak. And Khal Drogo becomes punished after that. But anyway, Viserys dies. That Viserys, he never becomes king. So he's not King Viserys. He's the beggar prince, Daenerys' brother. And there is a King Viserys. We saw him in tonight's episode. We saw two kings, actually. We saw Aegon III and King Viserys II. They are kings. Aegon III is the king at the end of this story, and then after Aegon III dies, his brother, King Viserys, or his brother, Prince Viserys, takes over. And Prince Viserys gets kidnapped in a battle at sea at some point during this story, and is whisked away over over in Essos, and is, if I'm not mistaken, it's Lys, but I'm not sure. And then basically Alon Oakenfist, Adam of Hull's brother, bargains him back. And then when he comes back, Aegon III becomes really happy because he just recently lost his whipping boy, who I've mentioned a few times during this live stream, Gaiman Palehair. Viserys marching in what did I start to? Oh, yes. So King Viserys' mask is very reminiscent because we saw that Viserys, Daenerys' brother, have gold pouring down his face, and you saw like the dragon emblem down his mask that sort of makes it look like it's melting. Really dope symbolism there. I appreciate Ryan Condal and such for being as big as a fan of the show as I am. Probably a bigger fan. I mean, he's the one who got the job at HBO making this show, right? But I thought I've had some really good ideas. Like Damon is Amon's, whatever. Thank you for that super chat. K3G92 says, Mark makes the long night enjoyable. If you haven't, thank you for that. A long night. Jay Sands says, if you haven't watched Buffy, do it. Yes. You know what? And I keep telling my girlfriend this story, right? But Buffy was one of the first shows aside from Dragon Ball Z. So my hustle in 6th grade was my stepmom's mom worked at IBM, so I would have her print color pictures of Dragon Ball Z characters, mostly Vegeta because that was my fucking boy, right? But I would always sell out of Goku, Gohan, and Piccolo, and Krillin, and Trunks, and everybody, right? So that was my hustle. But I would talk about the show with my friends. But when Buffy was out, I had a group of sexy ladies, right? No, girls my age. I don't know why girls love Buffy, but I love Buffy too. Anyway, there's these girls on my bus, and we would talk about Buffy before school, 7th grade. I did that in 2002. And I'm doing that now, 20 years later on YouTube. So that's fucking amazing. Like, I know it sounds like I'm lying, but no, it really is the truth. Like, Buffy was so good. I would be like, oh man, did you see what Spike did last night? This crazy motherfucker. He's got that chip in his head, but it's broken. You know what I mean? Like, oh man. Oh, yeah. All right. Yes. So yeah, if you haven't seen Buffy, go do it. It is, I mean, it's from 20 years ago. So it's obviously it's aged pretty well, in my opinion, at least how the monsters look. And I could watch Buffy before watching some of the newer Disney shows that have come out, being 100% honest. Heart of Inspiration, damn, with the $10. Thank you. She says, I think Viserys thought Jake was the prince that was promised. The Song of Ice and Fire, and that this is the start of the Septons using religion to run politics via Hightower. So Jace was the prince that was promised. So basically, Viserys thinks that Rhaenyra's son is going to be the one to unite. And technically, here's the thing. He marries Sarah Snow when he gets the Winterfell, if you want to believe that version in Fire and Blood. According to Mushroom. He marries Sarah Snow under what's called the Pact of Ice and Fire. Wait, no, the Pact of Ice and Fire is something different. But supposedly they get married. It doesn't mean anything because Jace dies, right? So you think Viserys thinks that Jacaerys, because he's Rhaenyra's son, will be the prince that was promised. And this is the start of the Septons using religion to run politics via House Hightower. Yes, so basically, to answer the second part, that's when Balon the Blessed, this guy's he's a doofus, right? So he basically has all copies of the testimony of Mushroom. One thing relating directly to this story off the top of my head that Balon the Blessed does, which is technically Maegor was the start of the war between House Hightower, the Faith of the Seven, and the Targaryens, because Maegor literally used Velaryon to burn a sept down, the Sept of Remembrance, if I'm not mistaken. He started that war. But this is the show's version of introducing the average show watcher to the idea that the Faith of the Seven plays a hand in with the High Towers, and it seems like Alicent's really religious on the show, and she's like judgmental because of that. And like, is that what you're saying? But they've been involved. Maegor the Cruel waged war with the Faith of the Seven because Maegor took on multiple wives, and the Faith of the Seven was okay with Aegon having Visenya and Rhaenys as his wife, but not Maegor. Maegor becomes the king after his brother Aenys dies. Now, what's interesting is, Aenys and Maegor are the two sons, the sons of the dragon being Aegon the Conqueror, the first dragon to conquer Westeros. He has two sons, Aenys and Maegor. Aenys dies. After Maegor, Jaehaerys is the one who takes the Iron Throne. So Jaehaerys is the one who's king at the start of the story. But Maegor wages war with the Faith of the Seven, and they had high influence. Like, there's this one dude. His name is from English mythology, and I'm going to forget his name. It's like Merlin or something. But he's this pretty famous member of House Hightower, and I think Maegor beats the crap out of him with the duel. But thank you for that super chat, Heart of Inspiration. We got another one from Chelsea, and they said, it was sad that Viserys died alone. Yeah, why did she just leave? Well, because we know what she's going to do, and then we heard in the trailer she's going to have that information kept on lockdown. But it was very sad, because like I thought, well, no, that's how it is. Like, they just assume he's not going to die yet. So they just kind of like, they know he's on death's door, but also he sort of just keeps living. So they're okay with, I guess, leaving him, in that state. This is from Rafael Luna. What's up, buddy? He's a patron member. Thank you for that. He says, you think those are Dany's? I thought they were Dream. Okay, so you're talking with someone else in the chat. But here's another comment that you said. Would love it if they had their own version of What Ifs in the GOT universe. I would too. I think about that all the time because I keep thinking about how these characters are quickly becoming my favorite. Like, it's going to be hard to completely replace Jon Snow and Daenerys, but it's possible in these characters, since they ride dragons, and that's what I love. It's possible by the end of this story that they do replace them, at least for the TV show. The book version, Daenerys and Jon Snow and Tyrion and Cersei and Jaime and Arya and even Sansa, right? And Ned and Catelyn, right? And even some of the POVs that we get who we never hear about again, about like when Shafe Pate dies, or when Varamir Sixskin dies. They're technically POV characters, but they only just have one chapters at the beginning of the Song of Ice and Fire books. But I love all of those characters in the books, and those will never be replaced except for by other characters in the books. But for the TV show, Jon Snow and Daenerys and Tyrion, my favorites, right? Also Cersei and Jaime, right? And also Arya and Brienne. I can go through the goddamn list again, right? But those characters may be replaced by Daemon and Rhaenyra and Alicent and even Sir Otto and Larys, right? I never had a thing for Littlefinger. I always thought Littlefinger was a dickhead. I've always been like, oh, you think playing games with Sansa is cool, Littlefinger? You're a cunt muffin, Littlefinger. That was a pretty good Littlefinger. I'm going to say that to myself. That was a pretty good Aidan Gillen. Yeah, that was a pretty good. That's pretty good Littlefinger. Sir Hunts can do accents for characters that you never thought was possible from him. No, I'm just kidding. People that haven't watched me for a while, I used to do those. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that would work. Like I said, I want that, but it would not. It wouldn't fit in with HBO. Now, if they do an animated universe that isn't there necessarily bound by the restrictions of the television adaptation canonical universe. Oh, that was a mouthful. If they do a cartoon universe, that's possible. That would be a way to extend on certain things. You could actually go outside of canon because you could explore subjects that have very little about them written in the books. Then you could do what if versions of what happens to main characters, but through this alternate sort of kind of thing. But for a TV show, that'd be too expensive, and it would probably fail. Three Kings, actually. You talking about Aegon too? Gaiman Palehair, I guess. In the moon, I guess he's a king for Moon's turn, right? But what happens to him is really sad too. He becomes, like I said earlier, Aegon III's whipping boy. Yeah, I said that. I said that, Breanne. I said Aegon 2 and Viserys 2. Unless you're talking to someone else in the chat, in that case, I'm sorry for being accusatory. That's my own dumbass fault. The mask looks like Son of the Harpy. The mask to me looks like oozing, melting gold going down Daenerys' brother Viserys' face. It hasn't, but I think, and a lot of people think this too, Dreamfire, because Dreamfire is the one who's laying a bunch of eggs, and she's the mother of several dragons. And I think she's one of the ones that is known to be actively laying eggs in the dragon pit during this time frame when Daenerys' dragon eggs are supposedly stolen, right? So I've explained that a bunch of times. But the eggs that we think, and George hasn't confirmed this, the eggs that we think are Daenerys's are stolen during the reign of Jaehaerys the first, the old king. And when they're stolen, they're stolen by this character whose name is somehow escaping me right now. But don't worry, I'm going to remember it. But Corlys Velaryon sees her ship, the Sun Chaser, in a shy. So it's possible that she sold the dragon eggs and decided to, I guess, seek more knowledge. It's kind of a blurb, though. It's an error because in the World of Ice and Fire, it's specifically mentioned that Corlys never went to a shy. But then in Fire and Blood, it says he did go to a shy, and that he saw Sun Chaser there. And Sun Chaser is is a ship that is used to steal away with Daenerys' dragon eggs, who were laid by Dreamfire. At least that's the theory, because it hasn't been confirmed yet. And the fact that Illyrio Mopatis, who's a cheese merchant, has the eggs and they're fossilized, it would make sense because it's 170 years later and they're over in Essos and they probably have passed hands and eventually made their way to Daenerys. I think when Daemon claimed an egg tonight, it's for Visenya, right? Because Viserys the second, and he's only king for like a year and a half, I think. But Viserys the second, when he's a grown ass man after Aegon the Third dies, his older brother, right? But I think his egg never hatches, and Aegon the Third leaves Viserys on a ship during a battle because he hops on his dragon Stormcloud and steals away. And Aegon the Third always regrets doing this, and it's part of the reason as why he hates dragons. Obviously, he hates them and fears them because he watches his mother get eaten. But I still can't remember her motherfucking name. She's in a lesbian relationship with Arya's mother. Arya is the Targaryen who rides Velaryon after Maegor the Cruel, but before Viserys, and she ends up going over to supposedly the ruins of Valyria. Velaryon comes back with this massive gash on his body, and Arya has fireworms inside her, and the fireworms eat her from the inside out. I just released this on my Patreon, Breanne. You know that. I know you listen to it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we will get that confirmed, right? So because Jaehaerys mentions in Fire and Blood, if someone hatches those eggs, we'd hear about it, and then he would immediately, there'd be a dance of the dragons, right? He'd go out and go kill those people who stole those dragon eggs. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of how they could like confirm that or sort of be like, yo, these are Daenerys's eggs on the TV show because she's already done gone left and sold the eggs. But yeah. This is from Gene. I don't agree with that. I think they're doing everything to make Alicent as likable as possible. Like, she does the smirks, like she has like one-liners that makes her seem like Cersei. She very much was channeling Cersei when she was talking to that handmaiden, and then she gives her the bag of silver, and then she forces her to drink the milk, the moon tea. I think the servant's name was like Diara or something weird like that, Diana or something. That reminded me of Cersei. But aside from that moment, Rhaenyra was the first one to reach out to her, but she had a genuine response with like to, Viserys saying, "Can the people who I love please stand up?" Right? When Viserys has that heartbreaking moment, he does. I mean, Alicent does in response to that something really like, you know, I don't hate her for doing that. She said something heartful on her side, on her behalf. And then also what starts off the war, the TV show has successfully made it believable to where Alicent isn't just some evil person. No, she literally thinks, even though to be fair, like obviously she knows he's senile, she's kind of adding in her own fill in the blanks kind of thing that's going to benefit her. But ultimately, they successfully made it so that it's even more of a gray area kind of thing. Like you don't really know which side to pick. You're supposed to just stay in between because, like in real life, you might be a good person, but I'm sure you've done some bad things. Myself, of course, my teenage years were filled with dumb things. Like we thought it would be funny to throw screwdrivers into people's cars' windows. Why? Really stupid. I wasn't a terrible person. No, but I did dumb shit, which made me in the gray, right? So yeah, kind of thing. I don't know. Can't believe I just admitted to throwing a screwdriver through somebody's window. Yeah, that was dumb. So if anybody ever had the screwdriver thrown through their window around 2007, I am sorry for that. I love Spike. Fuck Angel. Look, Angel is the most successful spinoff of a show ever until House of the Dragon. So shout out to Angel. I don't necessarily think he was the best choice for Buffy. I don't think Spike was. I think Riley was. I think Riley was Buffy's true love, but Riley was on the sauce and he was a man, but then when he was off the sauce, he wasn't a man anymore. So, and then also he sort of wanted to be like a military guy. He like didn't he God, fuck, I don't know. Didn't he join the army of demon hunters or something? He joined like an army demon hunter thing, and he's like comes back for one episode in the later seasons of Buffy. All right. Hey, Mark, how did you like Head Chop Go Heels? Go Heels, go Tar Heels. I'm not a UNC fan. I'm not even a college basketball fan. Go 76ers. I'm not even a basketball fan, but I play basketball. That was awesome. I like how they left his tongue in there because that was the one part that like caused him to lose his head, and they're sort of wagging it at you. And also, the Silent Five is not going to be a thing on the show. The Silent Five, it still could be, but Viserys is the one who takes their tongue. So basically, what he's about to do to Vaemon, but instead Daemon cuts Vaemon's head off. The Silent Five have their tongue removed for doing basically what Vaemon did. They make a claim that Rhaenyra's children aren't legitimate Velaryons, and the king has their tongues removed. And then when he has their tongues removed, he ends up freaking out and yelling, and then he cuts his hand on the Iron Throne. But yeah, the way the show did it was way better. It's actually very similar to what happens in the books, except for like they're on Dragonstone and Vaemon is on Driftmark and High Tide, and he's just talking shit about Rhaenyra and her kids, and Rhaenyra literally just says, "Daemon, go take care of it." And Daemon cuts Vaemon's head off and then feeds his body to Rhaenyra's dragon Syrax. Shit, super chat from Cheryl Lindsay. Thank you. She says Viserys' mask reminded me of Sons of the Harpy. Also, doesn't Corlys have a couple of bastards running around? Yes, Alan Oakenfist and Adam of Hull. And this is they will definitely be playing a role when the calling of the dragon seeds happens. In my video earlier that I did on Nettles, I actually talked about them. So go watch that. That's linked down below in the description. his mask, and I think I responded to this. I don't think, or someone else in the chat said this, and I did respond to it. I mean, I could see something with the harpy because it is a gold mask, and then like the harpy thing has like the curled horns that come up like this, right? But other than that, it looks like Kragus Crabfeeder's harpy mask because he's got those split lines. That to me, it looks like literally Viserys when he's dying. Like, let me pull that up. The Golden Crown. All right, can you all see that? Yes, you can. All right, that's what it looks like to me. That's what Viserys' mask looks like. Like it's just the half of that version on his face, like this part right here. That's what it looks like to me. I will say that his death is way more impactful than in Fire and Blood, because George, while writing it, very much made Viserys the king as someone to get from point A to point B, which is the greatest Targaryen king Westeros has ever had, to the start of this civil war, which wiped out not only mostly all of the Targaryen dragons, but also a good number of Targaryens themselves, right? Completely wiped the line of succession. Viserys in Fire and Blood is just and in The Princess and the Queen and in The Rogue Prince is just a way to get from the great old king to the dance. And when he dies, it's like it doesn't really mean anything. The one thing that stuck out to me from his death in Fire and Blood is that he tells Jaehaerys and Jaehaera the story about their great-great-grandsire, so his grandsire. So this is the old king at the start of the show. I've said this like 10 times in Slapshire now. When he flies north and kills the host of wildlings and wargs, that's the most interesting thing about Viserys' death, because that's the last thing that he tells everybody. Oh, and then it's also interesting that it's the third day of the third moon in 129 AC, and then he dies in the hour of the bat. That's kind of interesting, but that's literally it. On the TV show, like I was just mentioning, it almost made me want to cry because that shit was sad. It was really sad. He just, regardless of him literally killing Emma Aaron, the fact that this is like, 20 years later, it's like he suffered so much, and you could argue that maybe his suffering was 50% as equal as the suffering that he put his first wife, Emma Aaron, Rhaenyra's mother, through. So because of that, it makes his death so much more impactful. And like, I don't know, it's crazy. I hope he wins a bunch of awards, and I hope, because Paddy Considine is clearly a horror movie fan, I hope he gets to play with the Gorillas on tour. He's got his own band, Riding Low. I hope he wins like all of the Emmys and I don't know, the Oscars. I don't know what it is for TV. I hope he wins a Grammy. I hope he wins all of that shit, because that was an amazing performance. Like I said, when you know his book character like I do, and like everybody who's read the books does, this is such a better version. And when Joe Rogan's dumb when he made that dumb comment about King Viserys being the worst part about the show, what the fuck? Rewatch it. But yeah, I don't know. That was, yeah. Thank you for that super chat, Cheryl Lindsay. We got one from Uncover the News, and they said, do you think they will do Mushroom's account of Visenya's stillborn birth? So basically, when Rhaenyra finds out about her father's death, she's on Dragonstone giving birth, and she's very much pregnant in tonight's episode. So it looks like that's probably what's going to happen, because in the episode 9, holy crap, I can't believe we're at episode 9. This is nuts. Better subscribe, slap a like on this video, please. But more importantly, subscribe and turn notifications on. You'll get guaranteed content all the way. It'll be like House of the Dragon season 2 never went off as far as my uploading amount. Like, I'm still going to upload the same amount as when the show's on, which is like every other day, kind of. For the most part, like 3 or 4 days in a row, a week. Yeah, I think Okay, so Visenya is cursed by Rhaenyra. According to Mushroom's version, she's got like dragon scales and wings and a tail, and Mushroom is the one who carries her out to the pyre to burn, like we saw with Balon in the first episode. I mean, it's possible. They're like, I don't know if they'll do the dragon part that like the baby's born like half dragon, but they'll probably do the stillbirth part. They have to. And the egg we saw Damon stealing was for Visenya. And it looks like they may do the thing where Visenya's egg is never going to hatch, and that's like seen as an omen as the Greens. In the books, the Greens are way more evil and like one-sided in that sense. Like George basically makes it seem like Alicent is usurping the Iron Throne at the end. And the nail in the coffin is that she waits a week to tell Rhaenyra about it. And the reason why she's going to wait a week in the show makes a lot of sense. She's not just an evil meanie. It's because she needs time to prepare, because she knows Rhaenyra is not going to like what she thinks Viserys told her, which is that Aegon, their son, should be the heir because he has to unite the Seven Kingdoms for the threat of war. She heard the North and probably just thought, oh, he's out of it. He meant the war itself. Like the North is the largest of all Seven Kingdoms. There would be a threat of one of the kingdoms rebelling. It would be the North. That's probably how she's going to take it. And now for the TV show, like I said, they make everybody much more human. Like I love to say they make the characters great, but they also make them much more human. It's just much more believable. No one is just that evil for no reason. No, she literally thinks she's doing the right thing. And that's what every single tyrant in history, that's what all of the best villains, they think they're doing the right thing. They think their ultimate end game is the right thing to do. So like that's Alicent is this show itself is amazing. And I'm about to hop out of the chat and go through my notes. Let me block this person, whoever the hell that is. Chat something. Somebody was typing spam in the chat. All right. So let me run through my notes. But to finish answer your question, uncover the news. Do I think they will do Mushroom's account of Visenya's stillborn birth? It's possible. It's totally possible. All right, so let me run through my notes here. There's like 49 things, and I've actually talked about a pretty good chunk of them. So just allow me a few seconds to scan through them to see if there's anything in particular that I missed. Or not necessarily missed, but that I haven't maybe expanded upon enough of. All right. So I already talked about the cycle of abuse, which, to reiterate, that was the first thing I mentioned. In the first hour was all chat and questions, the first hour and 12 minutes. Now, the last part of this is going to be me running through my notes and not necessarily ignoring the chat, but just kind of glancing over at it every now and then, because when I read it and respond to it, I get sidetracked. So this is like the breakdown part of it. And usually I reverse it. Usually I do my breakdown part first and then I jump in the chat. All right, so initially to start out, let's see. We got the time jump happening. 6 years is how long it's been from episode 7, right? So there's 6 years. We find out Corlys is wounded in the neck. Vaemon is asking to basically get his head cut off right away. Rhaenyra agrees that, he needs to get his head cut off, right? Then we get a sweeping shot of Dragonstone. That's something I haven't mentioned. I'm amazed at the shot. I'm amazed at the cinematography. I'm disappointed at the graphic design team for not including gargoyles on the crenellations. And the crenellations are the top, those little tower things around the edges of the castle. They're supposed to be covered in gargoyles. They're like Dragonstone is very much shitting out the walls Valyrian architecture. If you want to know a good image of it, just think Castle Dracula with like a design team with the ability to move stones with fire. So that's a really dumb thing to compare. But Dragonstone is supposed to look like that. And I guess the reason why they didn't do that for the TV show is because it's not in canon. Like they could tweak the Iron Throne because in canon that has changed, right? Well, for TV canon anyway. The fact that the Iron Throne changes makes sense because it keeps cutting kings. Like Maegor the Cruel died on the Iron Throne. We saw Viserys die from the cutting disease, right? So they kind of, sorry, I just heard my kids. Trying to see if that's a cry or if that's a laugh. But yeah, so I guess they couldn't put the gargoyles on the crenellations at Dragonstone because that wouldn't be in canon. Daemon ends up getting the egg, and then a note that, Vaemon is acting a fool. Rhaenyra is pregnant in Dragonstone. She's pregnant with Visenya. Then we get Jace learning High Valyrian from the Maester. That was pretty cool. He's learning basically everything that will make him a good ruler. And if they stick with, well, it is with canon, because according to Mushroom, he marries Sarah Snow and he actually bonds with Cregan. And Cregan probably goes hunting and hawking with them. And according to Mushroom, Jace spends a bunch of time up there convincing them to join his mother's side. And eventually they do. Supposedly he sleeps with Sarah Snow, and Cregan is pissed off about that, but him and Sarah Snow fall in love and they get married, and it's going to be like Jon Snow and Daenerys, kind of, but like, well, Jace rides a dragon. He doesn't have Targaryen hair, but he rides a dragon, so that's really cool. And then also, supposedly, to get the veil on his side, he eats out some snatch, some older box, right? And he gets the veil. He wins the veil to his side, right? But you got to remember, too, that his mother is a veil on her mother's side, and Aaron. So Jace is learning Valyrian from the Maester. Daemon and Rhaenyra talk about, the Games of Thrones. They talk about Vaemon Velaryon and how he's being a real big jerk. And then Rhaenyra arrives at court. And she ends up meeting with, now this is pretty cool. She meets with this dude. My notes, I was typing so fast, I wrote castellated, but no, he's basically the Lord of Bitterbridge, this guy who comes out and meets her, the first person she sees when she arrives back to King's Landing after the 6-year time jump. When she gets there from Dragonstone, the guy that comes out, he's the Lord of Bitterbridge, and he's one of the first people that dies defending her name. So there's a couple people, right? Lyman Beesbury is one of them. We haven't seen Sir Harold Westerling die yet, but he's going to die the next episode in a similar way of what happens to Lyman Beesbury. So they could choose. Lyman Beesbury supposedly gets his throat slit according to one version of Fire and Blood, and then according to another version of Fire and Blood, he gets thrown out of a window and he dies on the spikes surrounding the dry moat, or in the dry moat surrounding Maegor's Holdfast. But obviously, since Harold Westerling dies in 112 AC in the books, his death is going to be more crucial for the show, in that he's probably going to be like, okay, time to go get Rhaenyra and do the damn thing. She just left, and it'll be silly. And it'll be interesting because Rhaenyra foreshadowed. This was my favorite line from the show. She said, the next time I come back, I'll be on Dragonback. And the next time she goes to King's Landing in canon is when she takes it, when she's on Syrax and Daemon is on Caraxes, and we have this amazing moment where they take King's Landing and she becomes the half-year queen. She holds the city for 6 months. She literally tells Alicent, the next time I come back, I'll be on Dragonback. I love this show. It's fucking amazing. But yeah, so after that, skipping around a bit, that dude that meets Rhaenyra is one of the first people that dies. So is Lyman Beesbury. He's the old guy who's very sleepy. And then also, so is Harold Westerling, I think, for the TV show. And then, let's see, we get the small council scene, and Vaemon's talking with them. Then we have Viserys, like Viserys' reveal. God, he looks like a skeleton. And then and this is in my notes, right there. You all can't see that, but it says the 12th thing I noticed was Viserys looks like a skeleton, and then we meet Viserys 2 and Aegon the third. Both of them are future kings. And then Alicent talks with the chambermaid who was raped by Aegon. And guess what? Windowjacker is no longer funny. Actually, yes, it is. It's kind of hilarious. He was jacking off on the small folk. But him raping her is not funny. It's not funny at all. It was never funny. But she basically makes her drink moon tea. And 2 of the ingredients in moon tea, one of them is tansy, and the other one I think is Pennyroyal, and it's basically abortion tea. And some significance to the main series is Catelyn's crazy sister Lysa has a baby with, I believe, Brandon Stark, and her father, the Lord of Riverrun, makes her drink moon tea, and he regrets it. And when he's on his deathbed dying, he keeps saying the name Tamsy, and Catelyn confuses that for a girl or something that he used to know or some shit. But we find out that it's one of the ingredients in moon tea, and then we sort of piece it together that, hey, Catelyn's father forced her sister Lysa to drink this tea to have an abortion. Sort of like what's left up in the air and alluded to with Rhaenyra in Kristen Cole and Jacaerys. Jacaerys's hair color, and this is what's interesting, is a different hair color from Lucerys's and from Joffrey's. That's like, okay, like you're like, it's brown. No, but it's like a light brown. It's more like the color, the exact color of Kristen Cole. Like it's I can't pull that up because there's no screenshots of it on Google, but I will put that in my breakdown video, which I said will be up by Tuesday. But like literally, their hair, his hair looks crazy. It looks really bad, right? I don't know if it's a wig or if it's actual hair, but whatever, who cares? It's a different shade, and that shade matches Kristen Cole's. And Joffrey's and Lucerys's hair looks the exact same shade as Sir Harwin Strong. And it's like it's all dark brown, but no. Also, when they're younger, Lucerys, and then when he's older, and then also Joffrey, the hair is very curly. And Jace's seems like it's straight, like it's starting to curl, but it seems like it's intentionally straight and like a lighter color. And he looks like Kristen Cole in the face, like the nose, the chin. He looks more like Kristen Cole than he does Harwin Strong. And Harwin Strong is House Strong claims descent from the First Men. So House Strong, because they have descent of the First Men, they have First Men features, and House Stark comes to mind. So they all sort of look like Ned Stark, Jon Snow's in the books. And that's kind of what they went for on the TV show, because the actor who plays him, Ryan Core, guy who plays Harwin Strong, kind of looks like a more buff Jon Snow. So Kristen Cole is meant to look like Jacaerys. And we never see Rhaenyra drink the moon tea. We just know that she has a firstborn son, and she's got a thing with Harwin Strong, and she also has Lucerys at that point, and Joffrey was just born. Like, that's when we find out that her and Harwin had a thing. Right before that, the only exchange they have is when she's running through the city in episode 4, right, when Daemon sneaks her out, and then also when in episode 2 or episode 3 when they go on that big hunt with the White Stag. When Daemon is down in the Stepstones, and they're sort of juxtaposing that by having the king on this great hunt, and he's looking for the White Hart. All right, get back to my notes here. Viserys looks terrible. Chambermaid, Alicent, Aegon 2 rape. You see Aegon's butt again. Alicent confronts Aegon, and we see his Esho. And then he gets slapped, and then Helena comes in. And she is awesome. She tries to make jokes. She tries to make light of the situation. Also, when they're dancing at the awkward dinner, right? She does that. She does that joke. Lucerys and Jace talk about, basically just bro talk, right? They watch Aemon fighting, and they see how badass he is, and they're basically saying like, "Oh, you remember when we were little? This place seemed a lot bigger," kind of thing. Then we get Aemon fighting, and he basically says, "Yo, do you guys want to join?" And obviously they don't, but they end up fighting later. And obviously Aemon is going to, face off against Lucerys. Then we get Rhaenyra and Viserys, and she pleads with him to help her about their sons. And it's kind of crazy to me that she even says that, because he's so far out of it and so far gone. She's like, "Daddy, please help me." Like, Daemon told her the last episode she needs to be a queen that everyone fears, because fear will win her respect, and that's how you rule. It may not be the best like emotional mindset and moral way to be, but it's the most effective way to rule, according to Daemon. And she's still not all the way there yet, so she's still hesitant to do certain things, like kill everybody that's talking about her bastard children to protect their birthright kind of thing. So that's interesting. She's asking for dad's help one last time. And that's cool because that's what ultimately makes him come out to the dinner and come out to the small council meeting first, right? To sit the Iron Throne the last time. It's the last time he sits the Iron Throne. It's really emotional. Daemon helps him up after Viserys refuses his King's Guardsman. Daemon is the one that's able to do it. And that was almost as emotional as when Viserys comes out to meet at dinner. So, then we have Vaemon coming to court, and I'm skipping over my notes because remember I told you I had 49 things, so I'm just skipping over. But Vaemon comes to court. He keeps running his mouth. He gets his head chopped off. We see his tongue waggling. One last time, his tongue waggled while it was missing the top part of his head, but his entire tongue was left intact. That was pretty cool. It was one of the more graphic scenes, but also funny. Vaemon, like you said too much, just a little bit too much, buddy. Then we have Viserys, giving that speech at dinner. This is, I've talked about that a bunch, so I'll skim past that. When Rhaenyra supports Rhaenyra in her deal, I fully had my expectations usurped. But then I remembered it as soon as it happened. I was like, oh well, duh, she has to support her because obviously they team up, and she's a black for the war. for the Dance of the Dragons, Rhaenys does not betray Rhaenyra, and she's on her side. So it was a nice. They caught me slipping for a split second. They caught me off my guard, and I was like, holy shit, is Rhaenys gonna betray Rhaenyra? But sort of like Rhaenyra disrespected her in their very first scene together because Rhaenys is being a smart aleck, yes, but she's also basically just trying to tell her how, like it is. She's like, I'm your cousin, right? Let me tell you how it is. They're never going to actually back you, even though your dad just named you as her heir. They're never going to actually back you because you're a woman, and they would rather burn the Seven Kingdoms to the ground, right? And then Rhaenyra says to her, no, they didn't choose you. And then she says that thing that Rhaenys hates, and she says that thing that I hate, and she says that thing that anybody who's a fan of Corlys and Rhaenys hates, which is that she was the queen who never was. She says, no, they didn't choose you, bitch, not me. They chose me. They bowed to me. And Rhaenys double checks her and says, yeah, but you think those dudes who you serve wine to, you think they're the ones who are going to bend the knee to you? You were just pouring their drinks. So that's why Rhaenys is giving her shit. And also, Rhaenys thinks she just killed her son. She thinks that she literally plotted to have Laenor killed so that she could marry Daemon. So this is where that, hostility comes from. Yet another thing that the show has added. It's not necessarily in canon, but it's allowed because Fire and Blood is written like a history book. There's no POVs. You find out that Mushroom was the only one who was actually alive during the events for the most part because everybody else was either on one side or influenced by the other, or they are telling secondhand accounts. So really, it's a super he said, she said kind of story. And because of that, it leaves a lot of room in the canon to say, bend it this way, bend it that way. And it's not outside of it, it's inside of it. It's just a different way to do it, right? Let's see. And then after that, we have Rhaenys foreshadowing how awesome her end is. And I'm trying to think of what that was. Is basically she talks to Rhaenyra about she basically has no fear, right? I'll have to come back to that because I know that's something crucial. And I thought I was just so confident that I'll get it by just taking down for my notes Rhaenys foreshadowing her awesome end. Then we have, the entire awkward dinner. Viserys pulls off his mask and reveals his eye and then gives that speech. And then Rhaenyra gives a speech in return. And Alicent gives her a speech, returns the favor kind of thing. Aegon shows his penis, right? He basically walks over immediately after that, walks over to Baela and is like, hey, want to see my wee kind of thing? So that was interesting. And then Daemon and Aemon, ultimately after that awkward dinner where Aemon gives the toast and then the boys have that outbreak, Daemon and Aemon have a stare down, and Daemon realizes in those moments that Aemon is the true problem. Aemon is the true one to watch out for. And we all know how they go out together, right? In the battle above the God's Eye, Vhagar makes its way up way slower. Caraxes is way faster because it's smaller, and Caraxes is a badass dragon for taking out Vhagar, right? But they had that showdown and that standoff tonight, and this is the moment for the TV show where Daemon realizes, oh my God, is Aemon a problem, right? That was awesome to watch. And then, after the Daemon and Aemon stare down, we have Rhaenyra foreshadowing the next time she comes back to King's Landing is on Dragon Pack. I talked about that before. She says that to Alicent, so that's amazing. And then the king dies. One thing. The informant. We see an informant showing up to Mysaria. She's the handmaiden. I'm assuming, and I'll have to rewatch, but I'm assuming she's one of Lionel Strong's daughters who end up informing on Rhaenyra to Larys the Clubfoot. Maybe Larys the Clubfoot and Mysaria are working together, but we did see, at least I think I saw Sir Otto meeting with Mysaria about her information. So there's something fishy going on there. Then we have the king dying. He talks to Alicent. Alicent's thinking the whole time. Alicent doesn't realize that the king thinks she's Rhaenyra, and he's answering her question from dinner. So it seems like his memory comes in and out, and he is not always there, but for the most part he is, and he just thinks that people close to him, and also he's remembering earlier in that episode or earlier in this episode where the night before Rhaenyra was just by his bedside. So his memory is his working memory is like it's kind of going in and out. And then I gotta sneeze really bad. Hang on. Damn. And then Viserys dies and says, he ends up saying, "No more, my love." I don't know if he's talking to Rhaenyra when he says that, but those are the words that he says. And we are at 1 hour and 30 minutes. My breakdown, which will be out no later than Tuesday, is going to be probably around 30 minutes. So that'll be a condensed version of what I just did here. So if you like this, if you enjoy my content, please slap a like on it, subscribe, consider checking out my Patreon if you want some more stuff. I also just uploaded a video a few hours ago here on YouTube. I'll try and have the episode 9 trailer breakdown out before Tuesday, because those aren't as long, and it won't take me as long to edit and as long to think about, because I won't have a whole episode to rewatch. I just have a 1-minute trailer. But like I said, if you want to know exactly when that'll be up or just some more content, check out my Patreon. It's linked down below in the description. Thank you all so much for watching. Special shout out to every single person who watches this now live, and a special shout out to every single person who watches this after. Please slap a like on it. Like was going to be 420. And then also subscribe if you want content while we wait for House of the Dragon season 2, because we only got 2 episodes left. Then we're gonna have to wait like a year and a half. So I will keep you entertained throughout the long night. Wait, let me see in the chat. Let's see. I'm going to read. I'm not in the chat on YouTube, so I can't see every single person that's typing. But shout out to Bridget Scott, Gene, Mad Jack, Basai, Daniel Pizzini, Dr. B Bunk, Liz Fiola, Kat Shepard, Rafael Luna, Kieran Pierre. Take Care is a classic. The North Must Remember. Anastasia Ray. Missy Be Kind. I think Jamie Barrington, Jennifer Kirsten, Chimera's Flame, Laura Estrada, Aaron, DJ KLY242, and everybody else. Heart of Inspiration, Francisca Riviera, Biko Love 121 _ Indy 4L, Luke Murphy, this chatting bot. The hell? All right. Well, thank you all so much. I just blocked that person, but for some reason it won't let me do it. Maybe he's already been blocked. All All right. I think I got all the people that were typing in the chat right now. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. If you're watching this live afterwards, please stop liking the video. Along that, the ladies of WomanOfSteel.